family, today that the Most High has made, that I am, Yahuwah Elohim, Luis Eternal. Let's get it. In this video, I'm going to be decoding Jerry Springer, his life, his role that he played, his death, and also things that were hidden, also Jewish mysticism, and the truth about Israel and Zion. So I first want to talk about Jerry Springer. He was a daytime talk show host. He also was the mayor of Cincinnati for a little time, and he also was a news anchor. And after he had that period in office and also on TV, he decided to have his own show. And his show was about relationships and about certain people and family dynamic and problems. And it actually didn't get any ratings, and nobody wanted to really watch it because it wasn't nothing that was very interesting. It was about more of healing and working through the family dynamic. So it got canceled, I believe, after 1 or 2 seasons. And then he came back with another idea for the producers and something that will catch the eye and get ratings. And he started on his explicit show, The Jerry Springer Show, which was uncensored, naked, drama, chaos, people going at it, just a lot of crazy things to be an eye catcher for people to watch. He even had the warning to not have the children watch his show because of its explicit language, and also adults in the fighting and all of the nasty things that were happening on his show, and how he would instigate certain people to fight and just watch it and have the audience cheering on everybody. And so I wanted to talk about this because when he died, everybody was very heartbroken. That's what they really like us to do, to have the spirit of sadness whenever one of these people die. And we don't know them, but we know their character that they played online. This is him throwing up the 666. And he was a Jewish man. He was a part of the agenda. He was down with the powers that be, the Illuminati, the Masons, and everybody else who controls the media, who controls the world, using money, using the different witchcraft that they use in Freemasonry. And he also found out that he had grandmothers who were in the Holocaust, but he didn't give any type of. And then I want to speak on Jewish, because Jewish means not a Jew, but acting like one. And so there's the Jews, and then there's the Jewish that act like they are the original Jews, that the Revelations 2:29 and 3:39 that speaks of. But a lot of our people were really saddened about this and clinging on this and saying how he was for the hood. The hood had love for Jerry, and just a lot of posts of like, don't come for Jerry, because, they took it hard and they just loved him so much and watched him and they grew up with him. And that's really bad, because first of all, the thing said, do not watch. Like, if your children's watching, a warning for the children not to watch. And these children literally grew up watching Jerry Springer, having that mindset. People are saying that it's racism, that some people are saying you all should not be, crying over Jerry because he appropriated black folks or Negroes, but he also appropriated and exposed and did a lot of things to white folks and other people. And 2 wrongs don't make a right. It's still wrong. Wrong is wrong. He made money off the backs of those who weren't doing well and those who showed themselves in a bad era, in a bad dynamic. And people's like, nobody forced them to come on that show and show their behinds. And yes, they did. In the end of the show, he would tell people, if you had a problem, if you had a case, come on the show and, we could talk it out. And there was not a lot of talking. There was a lot of fighting and screaming and showing their behinds and just a whole lot of negative things. But it was for views, for ratings, and for also money. So he made money. He even became a millionaire off this show, probably even more, from exploiting our people, their people, and even his own people. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I've seen any Jewish episodes of any people with the Jewish episodes. It was always white trash or ghetto people, and then the DNA test. And I don't even think the DNA tests were correct 99% of the time. There's always can be some type of error in different tests and things. So it broke up a lot of homes. It broke up a lot of different family members. And even in his show, he apologized and said his show is not a family show. It's not a show that he would recommend other people to watch, but it is entertainment. So that's why he had the show out there. And so a lot of people are riding for Jerry right now and giving him his rest in peace, but there's no rest for the wicked. There is no rest for the wicked. Who is to say he even went to heaven? And in this movie or this play that I'm about to show, they predicted him going to hell. And there also was a murder that was on his show. Then in 2002, a woman on the show was murdered hours after the episode she featured on aired, which revealed she was sleeping with her husband, an ex unbeknownst to his new wife. The couple were found guilty of her murder, so they ended up killing her. And he said that he would never watch his show, and he's not interested in it, and it's not towards him, and it's a silly show. And so this woman was murdered because of the things and the events that was revealed on the show. And like, the people were very angry on that show, and so he had to apologize and said how he was sorry about everything. And he said he just hopes that hell isn't hot because I burn real easy and I'm very like conflicted, and that kind of worries me. So he knew like his actions wouldn't make cause because he was leading everybody astray and everybody to follow after the society, to be trashed, to be their worst selves and be on television and stop the family dynamic. And that's all what Hollywood does. It's like Hollywood has raised certain generations to be worldly and to be negative and to always want the drama, always want the scoop, and to make us be in a bad light so that there is a upper class and a lower class. And all these people are the Jewish that run the Hollywood, who run the media. They own almost everything. And in Revelations, it talks about these people. He knows their works and their tribulations and their poverty, but they are rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. So clearly in that Bible, in that scripture, you can clearly tell who he's talking about, because there's only a few people who have synagogues, and that is in their Palestine and Israel, the Gentiles in Israel over there. And also it says that they are rich, and how the people of Judah and those 12 tribes of Israel, they were scattered amongst the nations, and it's prophesied in different curses of being poverty, and how Messiah knew who they were and told them that they are the father of the devil when they tried to say that they were of Abraham. And because he said, if you would have knew Abraham, then you would have knew that Abraham prophesied of me. And so a lot of them were involved in the crucifying of Messiah, because a lot of them were the scribes and the Sadducees and the Pharisees, our people as well, because it was a lot of mixing going on. But the Messiah knew exactly who was who, and they're rabbis, and rabbis is also an Arab. It goes back to an Arab name, and the Jews or the Jewish don't necessarily believe in the New Testament. They mostly are Talmud and Torah, which is like the first 5 to 6 books of the Bible, but still they pick and choose what they want out of it. But most of all, they practice Judaism in the Kabbalah, which is Ka is spirit, Ba is soul, and Allah, which is the Arabic name for God. And so I'm going to reveal this plague that he had, and they asked him, what did he think of the plague? And he said he thought it was really good job. I mean, I prefer it was about someone else. It was awkward for me to watch it for one. It's about yourself, so there's no common experience. There's no one I can ask, gee, how did you feel? I can call it. So he said it was good. Then later he recanted, because he was saying how he really didn't know how he felt about it, because it was an opera about him and it was very personal.
So, Chucky, how do you fit into all of this?
If she don't stop, I'll find me another woman.
What you gonna do? Buy her or drug her?
Gonna find me something to replace her.
The opera was just expressing the exploitation of the most craziest things that happened on his show, and how it paved the way for different reality TVs and how people were act on stage. And it was just everything that he, was in agreement with. Like he said that he liked it before. And so he didn't stand up for the things that were in this opera, which had a lot of blasphemy, had a lot of Sodom and Gomorrah, a lot of things that are against the Talmud or against the Torah and against the Bible, if that was his faith, or or still just if you had honor and you just know what's right and what's wrong and not promote that and not agree with that, it could have changed a lot of things, which what we're dealing with in this society. But still, it's about money, and it's about what is going to get trendy at the end of the day.
Well, I guess it would be rude not to. Please welcome the Ku Klux Klan.
Come on, boys!
We're talking about the Klan. Awesome news. Thomas Robb, the leader of the KKK, had died at 77 around the same time that Jerry Springer had died as well. And so it's like the Most High is just taking out all these old people who had this old mindset of racism and of blasphemy and of just evilness and putting it on for the world to see, because we're literally being programmed by the TV, and it's literally teaching our children what to do and what not to do. And these people have hurted the community and hurt themselves and our people. Like, we are going into an era of judgment and an era of righteousness and cleaning up the wrongs of our ancestors and of our past and everything. And even Caroline Bryant, the person who accused Emmett Till of whistling at her, also died within that same week and died at 88. So they're all being wiped out. And I feel like the names also as their ages are significant as well. The 79 kind of like a 76, and the 7 being this number of completion, and the 6 being the number of the flesh. And he died at 79, and also just with Jerry Springer and him being connected towards the Jewish people. And then you have Thomas, the Thomas in the Bible as well, the doubting Thomas, and his was at 77. And both of those, the triple number significance. And then Caroline, whenever there is a Karen, Caroline, Charles, that's also another name or a name that they use to blaspheme the Messiah, and her born at or dying at 88.
Running out of time, my final thought. I've been shot. I'm confused. Why would I get shot?
So they told us that he died of cancer at an old age as well. And he also had the Klan on his actual real show. And I kind of found the video, and I kind of gave him some props for how he dealt with that situation. But still, you have him as well as the blasphemy that they're going to be showing in the next video for the opera that he didn't speak about, and how it was just used for laughs and different things like that, and how he has been on the media for a long time, and he's never used his platform to speak of anything of integrity and power ever since he was canceled originally, when he had his video and he had his show and we're trying to bring family together and be like a counselor, or when he was like a mayor, and even like with politics, the Republican and the Democrat, and even like the people who are mayors, they are trying to be people who put them place as God and try to rule over a city and rule over people and keep the rich and the poor, and they don't really do things that they want to do. They do things that the higher ups want to do, that the people in the powers that be tell them what to do. And then even in news, they tell fake news. So everything that he has done hasn't been beneficial outside of entertainment and looking foolish. And then they want to say that he had 2 children who were melanated so-called black people, and still make him a hero again in the community, and say he left all his money, his land, and his riches to them and didn't give much to his 2 daughters. And then to turn around and find out that that was a play as well. So it's like they keep doing play and playing skits to keep people to, have sympathy towards these characters and towards these people.
Okay, a baby is born. When the baby is born, the baby, in a sense, at least politically and socially, is colorblind. A baby doesn't know that there are different races. A baby grows up seeing children around that he or she wants to play with and can become friendly with. It is only the grown-ups, such as you, that teach our children to not like that person because the color of their skin is like that religion is. Why do you do that?
That is of no concern, though it was not what I deserved. I simply come to take you down to hell where you will. Whoa, time out. Let's rewind this a little. Now, I don't want to serve in hell. At this stage of my career, that would be a sideways move. Come, Jerry, gird your loins, for we must journey south of heaven. Step into this elevator and set a course for the basement level. For there is no greater act of love than going down with me. I can't go to hell, I'm Jewish. Surrender your mortal soul, let life.
It's like the mockery and the blasphemy just doesn't end. So they predicted his death on this show and him dying because of the things he did on the show and being condemned to hell. And so the person who played the devil were basically singing and talking about how he's going to hell and how everybody else is going to hell no matter their color, their skins. And it was just a crazy opera or a play. Like, why would anybody even make that up? And he was like, he can't go to hell. He's Jewish. Like, even if you're Jewish, which the Bible speaks against certain Jewish people and speaks about the original Jews or the original Hebrews, that doesn't stop you from going to hell if you don't keep the laws and commandments, if you're not repenting from your sins, if you're not turning towards the Messiah, if you're not doing right and walking in righteousness. And so, yeah, that was just crazy. And he didn't still spoke on none of those things until after he was like, yeah, he was kind of uncomfortable with it because it was an opera about him. Yes, it's an opera about you. That means everything that they put in that video was things that you're associated with, the things that you promoted and agreed with and didn't try to stop or speak out against. And so that says a lot about his character.
But wait a minute! I'm confused here. Why are you dragging me down to hell? I don't deserve this. I'm not a bad guy. I just got lucky. That's all. I mean, Jesus. Is that a sin? No. Well, you see, they agree. Wrong guy. I don't solve problems. I just televise them.
So he wonders why he's going to hell or why he's being condemned and why the devil came to claim his soul, because he didn't cause problems and he didn't solve problems, but he just televised it. So even that can be blood on your hands because you stood for wickedness and for evil, and you didn't try to help people, or you didn't bring people towards God, and you just accepted the wicked, negative, and evil behavior as a bystander, and that can be something that is going to be held against you in judgment. And so he ended up having to make a contract with the devil when he created his show, because the people who run the shows, they have a contract. They started their contract with Satan in 1776 to rule when they made the July 4th Independence Day, and they also are contracts over the industry and over the film industry and over Hollywood and the movies to put certain things out and certain agendas to push into society and push into the people. And so nothing that people release, any movie, any show, gets any type of ratings or attention unless it's approved by the big bosses, by the different Freemasons that are in power, and the secret societies, and then the politicians who back it up with the money. So of course they're going to put out the most worst things, and all those people are in bed with the devil. So you're in bed with the devil too, unless you speak up against it, repent for what you did, and expose it. But after all these years of these people doing wickedness, they just lie in their filth. They don't come out and say anything, and so they know their destination. Even he said that he might be going to hell in one of the different interviews that I had showed earlier, how he said he hope it isn't as hot. But like, it just shows how bold you can be to know you're doing blasphemy, you're doing worse for the people. People fall in love with you because of Stockholm syndrome, loving their captors, loving their enemies, and loving the people who put entertainment and just give them a placebo effect while we're in slavery, spiritual slavery, and being fed a bad way of living. But that's all that we're given, and it's given us some type of comfort and laugh, so we justify it and justify the person. So it'll be blood on everybody's hands. And also, like, he showed in the next clip, or they showed that, and I actually think he might, because he said he wished that he wished that he came up with the idea first, but I think he had something to do with it as well. Like, he might have helped them produce it, because it was just too accurate. And like, it showed in the opera that he also made another agreement with the devil that he can probably stay in the land of the living, or he wouldn't have to suffer that much in hell if he did this reality TV show for the devil. And people were saying on Facebook, on social media, that now he's in heaven and God needed him so that he can be the disputer between things. I seen somebody post something about Princess Diana and the Queen Elizabeth. They could talk about what happened in their family on Jerry Springer's stage. I heard him talking about Mary. You said that Joseph is his father. Well, we got Joseph in the back. Joseph, come on out. And I was just like, y'all wildin', like, for real. Like, he's not in heaven at all. All right, so I'm going to start decoding, breaking down the truth behind the Jew and Jewish, the name, the origin, and Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah. And this is not hate for those who want to click hate on my videos. I'm talking to TikTok. There's no hate in this. It's just calling out what it is and what it ain't. And also, if you believe in the Bible, you know we all come from Adam and Eve. So there's no anti-Semitics. And also the Semitics were actually melanated people. So if we want to take it there, and the Jewish comes from Judah, the tribe of Judah, Yehuda, and Jesus, or Yeshua, the correct name of the Messiah, was not a Jew, nor was he king of the Jews, and there was no reference of Jews as the chosen people in the Holy Bible. And Jesus was not a Jew, nor was he the King of Jews. In fact, Jesus was referred to as a Jew from the first time in the New Testament in the 18th century and revised 18th century English language editions of the 14th century first English translations of the New Testament. The etymology of the word Jew is quite clear. Although Jew is a modern concept and root lie in the 3rd and 4th century AD, there is a modern English word Jew in the 18th century contradiction and corruption of the 4th century Latin ludius, found in St. Jerome Vulgate edition and derived from Greek word ludios. The evolution of this can easily be seen in the manuscripts from the 4th century to the 18th century, which illustrates not only the origin of the word Jew found in the Latin word luditius, but also current use in the English language. Throughout these manuscripts, as many earlier English equals used by various scholars between the 4th and the 18th century, thus the Latin ludius to English Jew. The evolution of the English form is Gayu, Gio, Lu, 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 Lo, Lewi, Louis, Lu, Lo, Lel. The final 18th century Jew, similar to the evolution of the English equivalent of Jews, is Jewish, Jew, G. This is all with a G, and the other one's with the L. Lewis, Luz is finally in the 18th century. It was called Jews. So Jew basically and Jewish did not come about until the 18th century. The word Jew didn't come about the 18th century, and Jewish didn't come until the 1800s. And it was originally in Hebrew, it was from the tribe of Yehuda, because there was no J. The letter J is only about 500 years old, so it wasn't in the alphabets. And not only that, praise the Lord in French is Louis Eternal. So the J was actually a L, so it was Lou. And also the people who claim to be Jewish today and of a tribe of Judah, we know that the Most High said he scattered the nations, or the four corners of the earth. These people came from Germany, and they're the Ashkenazis, Gentiles, who transitioned from the Germany and went into bought land in Palestine and took up residence over there in Palestine in Israel. And so that's where you have your Jewish and your Jew. Once again, this is not anti-Semitic. This is not hateful. This is facts. You can look it up. I had literally read this from LinkedIn and also did my research on there. You can do your research as well when it comes to these people and to the origins of the names and the people who claim to be the chosen people and are not. In Revelations 2:29 and Revelations 3:39, he says that he knows the poverty of those that are rich and say they are Jews, and are the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. I forgot to say that I actually have seen these Jewish in the spirit realm. They are the wickedness and principalities in high places. I've seen them with their black suits, their hats on, and with red eyes. I have seen them doing black magic on the chosen ones and on the saints. I have seen them going in graveyards. I have seen them digging up things in the trash, putting certain spells on the railroads and graveyards and spells, and teaming up with the Moor Masons to do black magic and rituals and blood sacrifices on the chosen ones in connection with the Catholic Church, and also just a lot of blood on their hands. Stealing someone's identity is not good, as well as using money and power to control the world and keep a blindfold over the two true children of Israel. And so judgment is going to be very severe for these people. The Kabbalah reduces God to numbers because their God is a computer. Kabbalah teaches that math is the language of God. The language of computers is math. Saturn is the giant supercomputer that controls the man is born in sin, because sin is a sin wave, which represents time. We are in time. We grow old, die, and then the cycle repeats itself. We are bound into the 3D cubic matrix, but only who vibrational field resonates outside of this dimension with the ones of all that can move forward. Satan is an anagram for Satan. Santa is an anagram for Satan, also known as the god of Saturn. Saturday, Saturn's Day, the origins of Christmas and Saturnalia, the Roman pagan festival that sun is not 93 miles away. Saturn is also 93. They worship the black cube, the black square, and the hexagon, or the three-dimensional cube. When you graduate, they give you a black motorboard known as a gown cap placed on your head, a sacred crown. Why do you think that people say, don't let them take you off your square? And so this is basically saying how the rings of Saturn are associated with the ceremony of placing rings in a marriage. The ancient name of Saturn was also mentioned in the Bible and also in the book of Enoch. But I wanted to talk about the Kabbalah and the practice of the Kabbalah that they do. So they believe that this image right here is the tree of good and evil, and it also is the tree of life, and each sector and each point has something of a label from a person in the Bible, and also a spirit, and also an energy frequency, and also connected to different chakras and connected to different magic, and to be your own God, going through the 33 degrees of masonry, but even more that it goes above the 30 degree of masonry, and having a type of knowledge. And if you're vertebrae and you're vertical and connected, then you become a God yourself. And this is something that they do in the Jewish community, and a lot of the people in Hollywood do it as well, because they worship the god Saturn, who is Satan, who is worshipped on a Saturday, and they have their Sabbath on a Saturday. And that's why school, churches, and the courts, they all worship Saturn. They're all going back to those Saturn and Father Time. And Saturn is the connection with the 7 and the 3, is the 7 chakras, the 7 days of the week, the seven rings, 7 chakras, and 7 deadly sins, and the 7th day trapping the body and the soul and the spirit to this 3D realm. So I had got some of this information off of a Facebook, but I also wanted to put in my own information and knowledge of what I received over the years. So they have made evil good and good evil, corrupted the very nature of the creation. Kabbalah, Ka means spirit and energy and melanin, Ba means soul, synergy, masculine, and Allah from in the Kabbalah is God in Arabic. Some say the moon god or moon goddess. The matrix is a female word and a cosmic concept for the womb portal into the 3D reality with the mind computer program based on numbers, words, frequencies, sounds, and vibrations. While we see the angel numbers or the chapter and verse of the Bibles that input a code or open a portal into the matrix and give out messages to pay attention to the signs and wake up out of sleep and out of slumber. Crazy how the brain, even designed like a maze or a matrix, inside looks like a woman's body and outside a man's organs. I don't know about the word Gad does not equal God. There are many other gods, not only God or Gadriel. God is actually a tribe of Israel, pronounced as Gad, and his name in Hebrew was Heliel, and Lucifer, it was in Greek because the Romans gave him that name after the Pope Lucifer. Azazel in Book of Enoch, I don't know why they added Gadriel. It was Lumiel before that, and now it's Satan or Hashatan. He gave humans knowledge of fire, flesh, cooking, made him Lucifer and the false light bringer. Then he was kicked out of the garden, made Adam and Eve gene, human flesh, made him Satan and Santa, Saturn, 7 rings, 7 chakras, 7 deadly sins, 7 days that trap the soul and spirit in the body in 3D physical realm. Time is the ultimate illusion. They also pray to the cube and Mecca because that is where they get their jinns, and the Apollyon is trapped in there, as well as El is for God, angels, and Elohim means multiple gods. The El is the angle of light, but then again, there's false light beings and those that have manipulated the light for evil and have fallen. So it's pretty much a cult that the whole world worships. They don't know that they are worshiping Satan, and some people do know that they worship Satan, like those that are in the Illuminati, and even in the Bible when it tells them that they have taken a star of their own God and has worshipped him, and they have taken that Star of David and have made it evil, and the signal of Satan or the star of Satan is right up at the top on the right, and there's more truth to the Star of David that's deeper within connection with creation, and I'm going to make another video about it. However, they have corrupted everything, because even the whole system of the Kabbalah was something that was originally taught the original melanated people, and it was something to do with the makeup of the man, the makeup of the body, and understanding the ways out of the matrix, but also leading towards the Messiah and to the Father. But now it it has become about just chakras work, ritual work, zodiac work, connecting with different Greek deities and Greek gods, and connection with Solomon keys as well, and commanding demons, and like channeling demons, commanding demons, and just like Solomon did. And Saul is sun, and Amun, it was a Egyptian deity, so it just tells you it was also like sun and moon, so kind of tells you how he was mastering the elements as well. And a lot of people don't realize a lot of this Saturn worship has been going on for the longest, and why it has gone on. And even the Jewish, or those in the Talmud, they don't believe in the Messiah at all. They believe the Messiah was not hung on a tree or a cross, even in because rabbi is the same, is a word from Arabic. They believe that he didn't really die on the cross, that somebody took his place, but he was a prophet of God. They don't believe he was a prophet. The Jewish, they don't believe he was a prophet or the son of God. They actually think that he is in hell burning his own fetuses, and this is from the word of mouth.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Imuna Nation? So I was thinking about a certain thing that's written in the Talmud, in the Gemara, and it says that Jesus, Yeshu, is in hell, boiling in a pit of his own excrement. And those things are written in the Talmud when it talks about Jesus, and it says that. So a lot of Christians and Jesus believers are saying like, oh, wow, the Talmud is so evil. Then if it says that, then for sure it's wrong. But I just it came to me so clearly what exactly that means, and what it means that he's boiling in his own excrement. And if you think about it, like, what is excrement? Our like how it's kind of foul, but like how we go to the bathroom, like what is it? And what it is, it's our waste. It's our junk, and it's like a result of and it's what we produce. So we can produce good things, or we can produce junk. And it says that he's in hell, boiling in his own excrement. So I thought about all the things in the world that are messed up because of Jesus, because of what he did. And you can look through history, and it's very, very easy to see that all the massacres and horrible wars that were started to try to convert people, like the Christians would like come into a village or a city or a town or maybe even like a whole country, and they said, okay, if you're not going to accept Christianity, we're going to kill you. So everybody who's Christian in Europe and in places like that, and they think they've have all these roots, old roots in Christianity. If you look at the source, how did they become Christian? It's because their ancestors in this small village didn't want to die, and it was just like, okay, it's easier to accept what these people are saying, because or else they'll kill you. And so that's one aspect of the mess. And you can see that the organizations like the Catholic Church, like the whole history of it is just like almost pure corruption. Like for sure there were people with good intentions who did good work within those systems, but you look at the history and you look at the actions of their leaders for 1,000 years, and it's just pure corruption and population control and evil. And then Martin Luther, who is the offset of Christianity, Martin Luther, he was like, people think of him as the liberator, that he allowed people to read the Bible in their own language, but really he was a horrible enemy of the Jewish people, of the lost tribe, the last like remnant of the people who are keeping the original Torah. He was like their complete enemy, and you can read up the history about that. And you can see even today that these things that Jesus like corrupts situations, like and messes up situations. And I had an experience with a situation I was working on, and you could easily see how Jesus just like made everything foul and just like ruined an innocent situation. And another thing I was thinking about are people, is the ideology of Christianity teaches that if you believe in Jesus, then you're going to heaven, and all you have to do is just believe that this guy was the Son of God and that he died for everybody's sins, and just by having that belief, you're saved. And if you just think about it for a second, you'll see that that's creating a massive excuse for people to sin. That it's creating a massive excuse for people to not follow their consciousness, their conscience. That they feel like what I'm about to do is wrong, but then they remember, oh, but Jesus, it's okay, it'll be anyway because Jesus has my back, and then they'll allow themselves to sin. And if you put how many sins there are like that, if you have a list of it, of those sins that happen today, and those thoughts that went in those people's minds, it would be catastrophic. It would be very, very.
Hitler set up a very horrible antichrist system.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families, in their nations.
The group of people known today as Jews are not Semitic, they are not Judites, they are not Hebrews. They are Gentiles, descendants of Japheth. The satanic ritual known as the Holocaust was horrible and disturbing. However, those who endured the atrocity were not Semitic Hebrews. They were Ashkenazi Gentiles who practiced a form of religion known as Judaism. Ashkenazi, plural Ashkenazim, from Hebrew Ashkenaz, which means Germany. Shem equals Semitic, Ham equals Hamitic, Japheth equals Gentile. Ashkenaz, seed of Japheth, is the progenitor of Ashkenazi Gentiles. This is why Revelation 3:9 says, Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee.
Strasznie było, strasznie. I to, że wiecznie strach, że przyjdą, wezmą nas, a jak resztę. Tego nikt nie zrozumie. Jak to było piekło.
The synagogue of Satan are not hereditary Judites. They are Ashkenazi Gentiles, who practice Judaism. Adolf Hitler was a Satan worshipper, and was possessed by the spirit of the Antichrist. Hitler made a pact with Satan for glory, power, and wealth in exchange. He would war against the coming Hebrew Messiah by convincing the modern world Ashkenaz Gentiles are Semitic Hebrews. Heinrich Himmler, second in command to Hitler, was also heavily involved in Satan worship. Himmler was under the demonic tutelage of Karl Maria Willigut, who was an admitted Satanist and warlock. Himmler encouraged research regarding Lucifer's role as the harbinger of enlightenment, an enemy of the Hebrew God. Under Himmler, members of the SS engaged in numerous satanic ceremonies and human sacrifice rituals in opposition to the Hebrew Messiah. Hitler's regime's satanic philosophies were grounded in the writings of Himmler Otto Wilhelm Rahn, The Crusade Against the Grail. Satanists are aware the Grail is the prophesied human Hebrew Messiah. The search for the Holy Grail is a satanic ritual used to reject the living Messiah for an inanimate object. The Holocaust, also known as the Shoah, was the largest satanic human sacrifice ritual of modern times. During World War II between 1941 and 1945, Gentiles identifying as Nazi Germany, and their synagogue of Satan collaborators systematically sacrificed some 6 million fellow Ashkenazi Gentiles who practiced a form of Jewish religion. The satanic ritual was carried out to hide the living Messiah's true bloodline and to imitate the second captivity and exodus of the true biblical Judites, so-called Black Americans. Hitler captured, tortured, mutilated, and sacrificed millions of innocent Ashkenazi Gentiles in an attempt to overshadow the true 400-year persecution of the biblical tribe of Judah. As the Deuteronomy curse prophesied, Judah was carried into Egypt, which is slavery, again in ships. A second return to slavery means there will be a second and final exodus led by the Hebrew Messiah himself.
For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah.
The slave trade atrocities which the tribe of Judah endured fulfills the Deuteronomy curse, where the Holocaust does not.
Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
400 years. Match. 4 years. No match.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Carried into slavery in ships. Match. No slavery ships. No match.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other.
Scattered across the earth. Match. No scattering across the earth for slaves. No match.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee.
Wore yokes of iron. Match. Yokes of iron were not the standard. No match.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Africa to America 8,576 miles. Match. Shipping distance by train 400 plus miles. No match. Judites did not understand English. Match. Yiddish and German share vernacular. No match. Satan and his agents can only imitate prophecy, and now the charades is over. Hitler is not to be admired. He was a satanic warlock, a deceiver, and has his place of torment in hellfire. The time has come to awake from the agents of Satan deceptions, and repent from rejecting, abusing, and disrespecting the tribe of Judah. The Messiah, Louis Eternal, springs forth out of Judah. Any who curse Judah are cursed, and all who bless Judah shall be blessed. Hallelujah, Louis Eternal, Amen.
Anti-Semitism has morphed into many shapes over the last 2,000 years. But how do you actually define it? Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IRA, developed this definition of anti-Semitism in collaboration with academics and experts to explain what many call the oldest hatred. It even includes examples to help you call out hate when you see it, such as the distortion or denial of the Holocaust, denial of the Jewish people's right to self-determination, and the comparison of Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. Some people argue such a definition would be a violation of the right to free speech. It is not. In fact, this definition does not change any laws or criminalize any speech. It simply provides the Jewish people the right to define what anti-Jewish hate actually is and how it manifests itself.
The satanic Jews that control everything and mostly everybody.
A clear definition can help stigmatize hateful views and those who spread them. Help people know when rhetoric crosses the line. For instance, criticizing Israeli policy is fair game, but demonizing the Jewish state or Jewish people is anti-Semitic, and provide victims with necessary tools to fight back. The vast majority of the Jewish world is in agreement on this. The World Jewish Congress, the Anti-Defamation League, and all of the major Jewish organizations are united. 40 countries, as well as 29 US states. Scores of cities, dozens of sports teams, and other organizations have adopted the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, with more joining every single day. Share this video if you agree on the IRA definition of anti-Semitism.
You see how they made this video to get us from stop talking about them and coming against them. Like, it's so much favoritism. People can say all that they want about different geographic types of people, but when they speak about the people that's in power, that's in control, they use their power and control to just silence the masses and basically tell them it's hatred or you can't speak on these things. And it's peep how they use Louis Farrakhan to say how they control everything. They own everything. They own the media, the Hollywood, the money, the military, and how we can't do anything without their say-so, and they're using their power and control for wickedness, for evil, to try to bully us into being quiet and not saying anything. But they won't say Louis Eternal. They won't say that praise the Lord in French is Louis Eternal, but they're scared of Louis Eternal, but they are mocking him and blaspheming him, all the while making Satan their God and staying on power and staying in control and acting like they're the victims in the situation. So they predicted his death and going to hell, and this is where he said he was uncomfortable about it afterwards, and they'll just continue the opera with doing a number of satanic blasphemous scenes.
So he turned some water into wine. So he walked across the frickin' seas. So you got yourself crucified. Here's a little biscuit from me.
All right, so the biscuit is also symbology and Freemasonry, because to be the 9th degree, I believe, or the 3rd, you have to eat a dry biscuit and white wine. And it's basically about you going through the dry sands and going through the drying period, and also the water into wine, also being us drinking water and then going and being in the flow of our blood. So that was a lot of Freemasonry and blasphemy that they were doing in that scene, and what they were trying to project into the opera. And so a lot of these people, people cannot believe the Bible, especially not how they teach us in church. It's not true, but there's some truth to it, because they wouldn't be mocking the way they are and doing these rituals. And these are some of the rituals that some of the church folks be doing. They have to swear on the Bible. They have to forsake the Bible. They have to do certain rituals, write their name in blood or write their name in a ledger. And then they have to take up the Quran or have to take up other books or condemn it. And they have to do certain rites and continue and do initiations and everything. And they be having higher up roles in politics and society because they go through that. Just like how the Greek societies do it, the same pledging that they go through, that's the same pledging that they go through in these Freemasonry secret societies, but they lose their soul in the process.
I am love, and I love all mankind. But that's it! Give me a break! Actually, I am a bit gay.
That's for blasphemy. This is for just a moment. Eve, what is it you want to say to Jesus?
For one little
Don't talk to me. Talk to Jesus.
For one little apple on a little tree, we get a life of grief and misery.
She made me do it, made me do it. You had your chance and you blew it.
Forbidden fruit.
Forbidden fruit. But vegetables allowed. God's plan.
Garden of Eden, specifically Satan deceiving Eve and using the so-called apple, which was occult knowledge, witchcraft, the eating of animals.
This is Thomas. Thomas denies the Messiah.
There is no God.
Thomas believes in the theory of evolution. Thomas eats the flesh of God's animals.
We humans have evolved to eat meat. Eating animals is what we are meant to do.
Thomas is a sodomite. He lays with mankind as if they were womankind. Thomas is a clubber and drinker. Thomas disrespects Hebrews and believes in racism.
I hate black people.
Now Thomas has fallen ill and is near death. Let's see what the afterlife will be for sinful doubting Thomas. Thomas has breathed his last breath. Thomas' soul should now leave his body and ascend into heaven for judgment. However, Thomas died in sin, so his soul will be locked in the flesh he so loved. An angel of God is sent to shut up the sinner's soul in his flesh.
Because of your sins I close thy mouth.
Now Thomas' soul is trapped within his dead flesh. Thomas' spirit is aware of his surroundings. He can see, hear, smell, and taste, but his body is dead.
Help me! Help me! Oh God! Oh God, no! What is he doing to me?
Now we will remove and weigh the brain. Can you hand me the saw, please?
No, not my brain.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Do not cry, young man. Thomas is in a better place resting in peace.
Resting in peace is far from the reality of Thomas' after-death existence. Thomas tastes and smells his sinful body rot and decay. He ate the flesh of God's animals. Now he feels the worms cover him and consume his flesh. The sounds of buzzing, slithering, and gnawing echo through Thomas' spiritual ears. Each day of decay is as 1,000 years. When the worms have eaten the last of his flesh, Thomas' soul exits his mouth.
What's happening? Where am I?
The court of heaven.
Who's that big black man?
He is not black, you fool. He is Hebrew. He is Louis Eternal, the Most High God. And you are standing next to his only begotten Son, Louis Eternal. And I am your master, Lucifer.
It would be my duty to mediate on your behalf, Thomas, but you did not believe on me, so my work here is finished.
Your holy majesty, due to Thomas' lack of belief in your only begotten Son, he is left defenseless. The prosecution requests that Thomas be found guilty of all his sins. I deceived him, therefore his soul belongs to me and should be immediately remanded into my eternal custody.
Motion for prosecution is hereby granted. Thomas, for living a sinful life, you are banished to hell with your master Lucifer.
No, God, you are real. The Messiah is real. Sodomy is evil. Racism is evil. Eating God's animals is evil. Blasphemy is evil. Please, no, I don't want to go to hell.
I remember that there was a rabbi in our school. Actually, he was a substitute teacher, and he came for the day. And I remember coming back from recess, and he stopped me in front of everybody, and he said, "Stop, what are you doing here?" And being an 8-year-old or 7-year-old, I think during that time, what would somebody answer? Of course, I go to school here. And he said, "Well, you're not supposed to be here." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you're black." I think that's one of the moments when I actually realized that I was different from everybody else. I mean, I knew I was different, but I also knew that I was color different.
Eleni, an African-American Jew of Ethiopian descent, has also experienced racism in the Jewish community.
People should really take the time to get to know, especially in the Jewish community, get to know their neighbors and get to know the people that comprise the Jewish people, and not perceive that it's only Ashkenaz Jews that are out there, only Sephardic Jews that are out there. And I think it's really tiring to explain over and over again who you are and what you're doing in shul.
Esther's father, Samu, a political exile in 1981, struggled to get his papers, a journey full of pitfalls where the Jewish community has repeatedly tried to harm it.
Every meeting I go, like Esther said, you don't look Jewish. How do you become Jewish? I say, everybody doesn't look Jewish. Everybody looks like where they come from.
Elisheva Rishon, a Brooklyn Jew and African-American, moved to Los Angeles and launched a clothing brand inspired by her story.
I also want people to feel proud of being Jewish, because right now in America, there has been a huge spike in anti-Semitism, and a lot of people feel afraid to show their Jewishness, and I think we should do the exact opposite. I think we should proudly show who we are.
But it's not just about Black Jews. American Jews in this Latin community have a hard time being heard.
Especially in Jewish communities, there is a unique tie between our historical experience with oppression and modern current expressions of disenfranchisement or oppression in American communities that make us natural allies, specifically for Black and brown communities in the U.S. And I hope that Jewish folk in America will work very hard to look inward at the way their Jewish communities are, to examine ways that they could be not only more welcoming to the true multi-racial, multi-ethnic Jewish community that they have present already, but also how they can ground themselves in their Jewish identity to serve other communities.
Beit Israel is a community originally from the United States with roots in the Black Hebrew Israelites movement. Now based in Israel, the religious group believes Tel Arad to be the true Jerusalem.
These are the people of the book. That's right.
The Israeli government, however, does not recognize Tel Arad as a holy site.
Israel have a law, you see, that indicates that if you have a holy place within the land of Israel, that you should be able to visit there freely, you see, without having to pay entry for it. So because of that, we want what everybody else, what every other community have in Israel. We want our people that's coming from America, our people that live here in Israel, we want them to be able to enter into the holy place.
Leader of Beit Israel, Hoshua Amariel, is citing an Israeli law enacted 52 years ago. The law says holy places will be protected from any desecration, with freedom of access to those who hold them as sacred. Tel Arad is currently under Israel's Park Authority, where it is being treated as a national park and campsite. Beit Israel's activities are slowly being banned from the site, and its members must pay a fee to enter for prayers.
I fear God more than I fear men. You understand? So we do go ahead and do what we're required to do, but we have a backlash afterwards saying that we broke the rules of the place.
Several years ago, Beit Israel began working with Israeli lawyer Daniel Taib.
That's the handshake for the revolution, the Torah revolution.
Together, they are working on bringing the case before the Israeli government to have Tel Arad officially recognized as a holy place.
Over the past year, the situation started escalating. Before last year, Chief Hoshua and his community could go there for their ceremonies and sacrifices. Everything was authorized. No one hurt anyone. Now they are being given difficulties to practice their rituals, so we are stepping up our legal actions to help.
Currently, the group holds most of their rituals outside the boundaries of the park's authority. And abiding by Israeli law is beginning to dishearten many members of the community.
The scriptures say that the city of David is the same as Zion, or that Mount Zion is the city of David. If the scriptures literally say that, then how can you have a sign that points Mount Zion this way and then the city of David that way? It just doesn't make sense. We know that that's Mount Zion, and we would like to come there and pray and serve the Most High as we're commanded. That's all.
It hurts. It hurt really bad. It's something that I think about every day. I cry about it. I pray about it. I just, every day, I'm dealing with it every day, everywhere I go in this country. It's really hard because that's who we are. That's who we are as a people.
Israel's Parks Authority declined I-24 News' request to be interviewed on Beit Israel in Tel Arad. It remains to be seen if the community will ever get the recognition it seeks.
In Micah 4:1-8, it says, the mountain of the Lord. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established at the highest of mountains. It will be exalted above the hills, and people will stream to it. Many nations will come and say, "Come, let us come up to the mountain of the Lord and the temple of God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways so that we may walk in his paths." The law will go out from Zion and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between many people and will settle disputes for strong nations far and wide. They will beat their swords unto plowshares and the spears unto pruning hooks. Nations will not take up sword against nations, nor will they train for war anymore. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid. For the Lord Almighty has spoken. All the nations may walk in the name of their gods, but we will walk in the name of the Lord our God forever and ever. Hallelujah. So that's what Malachi says. So when it speaks of the highest mountain, is the Lord's mountain in the end of days, after, during, probably after the 1,000 years and during it, and then also how he established his mountain in Zion and Jerusalem, and that's in Kenya, because even the mountain in Israel said it's about 2,510 feet, and the mountain in Kenya is the highest one, 17,000 feet. And so if it's the highest mountain, that is the Lord's, that is Zion's, that's from Jerusalem, how is that the one in Israel that they're claiming, that the Khazars are claiming is Israel, is Mount Zion? Okay, so like mind blown when I found that out. I'm like, hold on, because I was even thinking, like, if it took them 400 years, no, 40 years, excuse me, to get to the promised land from pagan Egypt. And so we know that the Most High, well, I put it in my videos, how he had his altar in the midst of Egypt. However, Egypt became corrupted because of the pagan gods, the pagan Egyptian gods, the demigods that took over that region and enslaved the people. And the Most High heard their cries and needed to deliver them. And so they took them to the promised land, and they took them to the promised land, which they made to be their Zion, their Jerusalem, spiritually and physically. And I looked it up now, and it takes an hour and 35 minutes to get from Egypt to Israel, to now Egypt to now Israel. And it takes 4.7 hours to get to Egypt to Kenya. And that makes a little bit more sense because it's a little bit more longer. But we know with their disobedience, it took them 40 years to get to the promised land, and plus they were walking, and that is all on plane, that it took that long. So I feel like it would have been longer if they were getting to Kenya. And then also the slaves and even some of the Igbo tribes, the African tribes, and a lot of the original Jews, we were taken from the slave coast in Nigeria, which is closer to Kenya, that's further away from the eastern Israel over there, that they're claiming is the promised land. And so, even as being people of color and being more in what they call so-called Africa, I feel like that is the original place, and I was getting revelations on it as well. And then I also came across this brother who literally walked from Egypt to Kenya, and it showed him in pictures on the by the pyramids and by the mountain and Kenya, the highest mount that is speaking about in scriptures, and then also him in the water. And we know that the Messiah, the man out of the water, and also how he's going to be in rulership, how he's going to be back on top of the altar and the pyramids, and also he's going to be teaching out in Kenya in the last days. So I just was like, wow, like, oh my goodness, like, it's like making sense now, because before, they tell us, and we got our people going over there to that land, and even the Most High said he will gather us, but they're going over there to that land and being treated like secondhand citizens and just doing bad. And like the Gentiles have trodden down everything anyway, but they've also lied about who we are. Who's to say they haven't lied about the land they're on and the true promised land? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's wild. Not only that, there's a glacier / mountain in Kenya that's called Lewis Glacier. And praise the Lord in French means Louis Eternal. And they use the name Louis to blaspheme the Messiah in like a lot of the Hollywood movies and Egyptian movies and different things like that. And everything to, you know, take the power away from the name or blaspheme the name. However, his name in Louis Eternal, and also he uses the Lewis key. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Love you all. Shalom and blessings.